Hey, it's Base from BaseFit Official and welcome to today's episode. We are talking about things heavy. Lifting heavy things, lifting heavy barbells, dumbbells, clubs, kettlebells, cable weight, everything. Let's talk lifting heavy. Right, so the first thing I kind of want to mention about lifting heavy and kind of contextualize it and give you a couple words and phrases is heavy equals high intensity. So the heavier the weight, the higher the level of intensity, equals the higher the 1%, the higher of your 1 repetition maximum you're using percent wise. The higher your 1 rep, the higher the percentage of your 1 repetition maximum you're working with, the higher the intensity, the heavier the weight is. Okay, good. Now that we got that sorted, should you be lifting heavy? The answer is yes, but it changes between beginners, intermediate and advanced, and how proficient you are with each movement at each different stage. So let me explain myself. Beginners beginners by the way are people who've been training less than 1 year, consistent high quality level of training. You should never go above 80% of your 1 repetition maximum. Never go above 80% 1 repetition maximum, and I recommend not going below 10 reps for the first 6 to 9 months. So for 6 to 9 months you should never get to 80% of your 1 repetition maximum. After that point you can start putting it in as you go. Intermediate, you've been training for between 1 to 2 years. You can push up into the 90% 1 repetition maximum range because you'll have progressed in the movements and you'll be more kind of sound in the movements. Advanced, you're cool, you're more than 1 to 2 years of consistent high quality training. You've earned yourself the right to lift 100% of your 1 repetition maximum, your 1 rep max. Though I don't recommend doing that very often. That's another video. You're okay to lift with your 1 repetition maximum. For beginners or for intermediates, you can test. I would recommend trying to figure out your 1 repetition maximum by working out your 5 rep max and then working out that way. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And for the beginners, I would recommend I'll touch that in a minute. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is this table here. So you can find this online. You can screenshot this, write it down, do what you want. But it's the percentage of your 1 rep max in correlation to the amount of reps you can do. So 100% of your 1 rep max, you will only be able to get 1 rep. 95%, 2 reps. 93%, 3 reps. 9%, 4 reps. 87%, 5 reps. 85%, 6 reps. 83%, 7 reps. 80%, 8 reps. 77%, 9 reps. 75%, 10 reps. 73%, 11 reps. 70%, 12 reps. So I'll put it in context here. So beginners, 80% of your 1 rep max is 8 reps. You never want to go below 8 reps. Intermediate, 90% of your 1 rep max. You never want to go below 4 repetitions. And advanced, 100% is 1 rep. Now, how do you work out your estimated 1 rep max? If you're an intermediate, you figure out which weight you can only move for 5 repetitions. Then you know that that's 87% of your 1 repetition maximum. So you have 87%. Now you can use that to find what 100% is. If you're a beginner, it's a little more difficult to estimate what your 1 repetition maximum is. However, if you're an absolute beginner, don't bother yourself about the percentage of your lifting percentages. Pick a weight that you feel comfortable with, decrease that by 15%. This is advice given in Ross Edgley's book. Shout out to Ross Edgley, currently doing the Great British Swim. At the time of filming, don't know if we'll still be doing it when I release it, but shout out to Ross Edgley. In his book, The World's Fittest Book, he mentions that kind of beginners who don't know what their 1% repetition maximum is should pick a weight that they feel comfortable with, decrease it by 15% and work with that weight. you'll be able to find what weight you're able to maintain form and get 12 reps, 10 reps. And then once it becomes time, you can go down to 80%. You just increase the weight until you can only do 8 repetitions with good form. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the form principle. Okay, so the form principle is basically the idea that you want every single repetition to be absolutely perfect. You want your last rep to look like your first rep. Now this is for multiple reasons. Main reason being is that you want to only teach your body good repetitions. If you have 4 sets of 10 reps, your first 3 sets of 10 are perfect form, and then you do 7 reps of perfect form but your last 3 are absolutely god awful, your body will actually only really remember those last 3 awful repetitions. So you're teaching your body how to squat wrong, how to lift wrong. The form principle can be easily applied by using the -1 -2 method. Now the -1 -2 method or rule is where you lift to the point where you could get 1 more or 2 more clean perfect reps, but you stop. So you stop shy by 1 or 2 reps. Beginners, I would recommend stopping by 2, so you have 2 good reps left in your tank, and then you stop. Now you can do that you have to do that for the first 6 to 9 months, I recommend. After those 6 to 9 months you can bump it up to -1, but -2 for the entire first year of your training, I would recommend sticking on -2. Once you're intermediate and advanced, then you can bump it down to -1, so that you work and you have 1 solid form rep left in the tank. How do you apply this to the graph? Well, it makes it kind of easy to work out the weights that you use, because if you're intermediate and you're doing 5 sets of 5 with -1 rule applied, you go to 5 and so 5 reps is 87% of your max. But if you want 1 rep left over in the tank, you'll have to go to 6 reps and find that the value is 85%, and use 85% but only perform 5 reps so that you know you have 1 left over in the tank. It's that simple, and you can do that with any of the weight here. One thing to mention is that the higher you get, the more accurate the estimations of the 1 rep max are. As you get lower, so 70% of your 1 rep max, it's less accurate for kind of deciding what your 1 repetition maximum is. Keep that in mind. So back over to this side of the board, we have intensity and warm-ups, both with arrows pointing this way. It's not because they're pointing at me because I'm intense and I'm warm. It's bloody hot in this room and I might be speaking pretty intensely. No, it's fine. But what this is referring to is the fact that as the intensity increases, so as the 1 repetition the percentage of your 1 rep max increases, the heavier it gets, the longer and the more so the longer your warm-up needs to be. If you're only doing 2 sets of 30 repetitions, you might only need 1 warm-up set. You may not even need a warm-up set. I would recommend it, but you know, these are only recommendations of what I think is appropriate. But if you're lifting 10 sets of 1, okay, so people lift 10 sets of 1, 15 sets of 1 repetition maximum, so you're lifting 100% of your 1 rep max, so you're lifting damn heavy, you're lifting the most intense you can in a certain movement. That's the intensity spectrum is all the way over here, so your warm-up needs to be over here as well. You might need to do 10 warm-up sets for your 15 sets of 1. I have nothing else to say about lifting heavy apart from you need to maintain perfect form. For the same reasons I mentioned earlier, you need to teach your body how to move correctly. You don't want to teach it how to move wrong because you'll injure yourself in either sport or everyday life. Heavy is high intensity and it's also a high percentage of your 1 rep max. Beginners never go above 80% of your 1 rep max, so never go below 8 repetitions. I recommend staying above 10 for the first 6 to 9 months. Intermediates, now you can bump it up to 90% of your 1 rep max, which is 6 repetitions. And advanced lifters, you can go up to your 1 rep max if you so choose. You can use this graph, you can memorize it, write it down, search it on Google, screenshot it. It's very helpful for you to plan your workouts. I use it every single session that I have to plan my workouts. Remember the form principle, the -1, -2 rule. If you took anything from today's video, take the -1, -2 rule. -2 for beginners, and for intermediate and advanced, the -1 rule will apply. And as the intensity increases, your warm-up should increase along with it. Use these to lift heavy, live strong, train hard.